You used to grey out initially. It was sort of, with me, I don't know if it varied with people, but with me it used to grey out like that and come in, and then you go black. You knew what was going on, and if you eased the stick a bit, it would come back. If you kept pulling, then you became unconscious. If you could avoid it, don't black out, because you can't see, and you can't see what's happening. And it only takes 2 or 3 seconds, and he's on you.
Throughout Fighter Command, pilots would work out for themselves what helped them survive. Nothing was too trivial if it gave you the edge you needed.
I'll tell you about the things that can get you killed. Never fly with a cold or a stiff neck.
And that's why they wore these silk neck scarves. It wasn't for show or because it was elegant or fashionable. It's to prevent chafing. The Van Huysen shirts that the fighter pilots were issued with were tight and stiff. They also shrank when in contact with the water. So unless you want to be choked in the channel, you undid your top button and you put on the neck scarf.
Never follow the aircraft you're shooting at, because somebody will be shooting at you.
If you stay still, you're a simple target. If you're moving around, you're not. So therefore, let's move around. And if you can't see a target in front of you, doesn't matter. Don't go around looking for one like that. Chuck the aeroplane about, and then one will come up. Survival. Live to fight another day, and have a jolly good bash at him when, while you're there. Go for him.
Get in fast, kill one of them, and then get out.
For the Germans, the Battle of Britain was simply phase 2 in their lightning war to create a European empire. But as well as defeating Britain, they were also driven by conquest on a personal level, and the medals that went with it.
The Germans are motivated much more by the feeling that they're engaged in some form of dangerous sport. You get the sporting analogies constantly in German correspondence, and what their main concern is how well their unit is doing against other units in terms of shooting down British aircraft. Who's got the best score?
During the Battle of Britain, I was awarded this Knight's Cross for shooting down 20 aircraft. It was a great honour. People respected you wherever you went. People would say, full of admiration, "Look, he has the Knight's Cross." It was something quite special at the time.
The leading aces were known to be people who suffer from what the Germans called Halsweh, or having a sore throat, which simply meant they wanted to feel the weight of a Knight's Cross dangling around it, so were very anxious to get called off to Berlin for a new award. But it produces a subtle difference, much more individualism on the German side, much less of a sense of moral issues at stake. They were simply a group of professionals who'd been given a job, and so they went about doing it the best they could.
Of course, there were exceptional pilots on the British side too, but Fighter Command frowned on anyone guilty of boasting about being an ace. The most successful RAF pilot during the battle was a South African called Sailor Milan, and his attitude is typical.
I don't really know how many I shot down. Much has been written about the competition between individuals in their quest to be the top scorer. Such competition, in my experience, did not exist. We all did our job, which was to destroy as many enemies as we could. We were not there for personal glory, but as part of a team.
I used not to like the idea of a personal score at all. Not at all. I thought that was a bloody nuisance, that people should be... And it becomes a selfish occupation if you do that. Your aim should be, as a part of your squadron, to help as many of your people to get into a position to make an attack.
In the First World War, if you shot 5 enemy aircraft down, you became an ace. And this was quite significant. It meant that you were a gen man, one of the leaders of the pack. And so I had a private celebration when I'd shot 5 down, had a pint of beer on my own, I never mentioned it to anyone else, so I didn't want to seem silly, really, because it didn't apply in this war, really.
Ace or not, there was no doubting the pedestal on which fighter pilots were placed by the general civilian population.
They didn't know whether you're a fighter pilot or a bomber pilot or a coastal command pilot. The general feeling was we were little heroes.
Well, I suppose in a way we were lucky. We weren't like a poor soldier in a slip trench and the rain and all the rest of it. We fought hard during the day, and those that were left at the end of the day had an English pub to go to, which we'd done in peacetime. You talk to English locals. It's difficult for anybody to understand. You went from one extreme to the other. 1 minute fighting for your life, next minute having a game of darts. Double top, you know.
So we became rather sort of jolly chaps, you know. Let's have another beer, you know. Let's go after girls.
My new girlfriend at the time was Barbara, which lasted forever because we're now married. And this is when I first met her. She was a very keen sailor. That was the oddest thing, to be in a punt in the afternoon and looking up at the sky and thinking, well, a couple of hours ago I was fighting the bloody enemy up there. Most extraordinary feeling.
Well done this morning. They were nice having the slightly longer sorties.
Having mastered the basic Spitfire handling, Carolyn is now moving on to skills John and Dave would need if they were to enter combat.
Then we'll do a simulated engine failure, and I'll do it and just show you. You see how much the speed drops off. She's quite nice.
Learning about engine failures and glide speeds are essential. Many pilots had to land badly damaged planes.
But trim the aeroplane to fly, trim the rudder, and trim the elevator to fly slightly, a little bit.
It's easy for our pilots to forget what they were being trained to do. Kill other young men much like themselves.
Well, you have to go back to 1937, 36, 37. I used to go to Germany as a boy. I loved them, I really did. I was tremendously impressed by the Germans. Lots of aeroplanes in the sky, which tremendously impressive to a chap aged 17, 16, 17. So that when I fought the chaps in fighters and bombers, they were the same chaps that I met on the ground in Germany. I had no animosity, and the ones we'd shot down and met as captives and very charming fellows.
There was no bad feelings, and I don't think any of the pilots had any bad feelings, because the bloke in that thing with crosses on was only doing the same job as they were for another firm.
Well, when you're a young pilot, when you're a young man, you don't think to yourself, what have you done? Have you killed a man? You just thought, I've brought down an enemy plane.
I shot at aircraft. I didn't shoot at people.
You don't think about the person in it. You can't see him. You're not in close contact with him at all.
Once in a while, though, a pilot might glimpse another human being.
When I shot a bloke down over the sea, he was flying all very close over the sea, and I hit him, and I saw his wheels come down and his hood come off and his engine stopped. And I couldn't have shot him any more than that. It just wasn't in me to go on shooting at him. So I stopped shooting and flew up alongside him, and knowing that he was going to have